that leads us nicely into our big picture topic for this
Yeah.
week, which is just starting to talk about and brainstorm RAG.
hmm
And, I think when we go back to the uh, owning your own AI system on the roadmap here, what are these components, right?
hmm
It's the interface, which we have now.
Yeah.
It's the intelligence, which there's a tremendous amount of great open source models from the open source community that you can run. The hosting is your computer right now. We will also move into managed hosting and self-hosting on the cloud, where you have the complete freedom and ownership and control. The last piece is really this memory piece. And I think that ultimately memory will be the moat. And the AI system that holds your memory
hmm
is going to be the most useful AI system. So I like to say if you could have two different personal assistants, one that was brilliant but knew nothing about you, and another one that was just smart but not brilliant but knew everything about
Yeah.
you, which would you rather have? And I
If
think
you know exactly, I think most people is like if they know something about you, because that leverages you, and
right.
that's really what you're looking for. Right? Nobody's really looking for a mindless Einstein.
Right.
Because yeah, Einstein's great, but do you really need the theory of relativity every day? No, you need
Yes.
somebody who knows what you do every day, who can leverage. Hey, we've done this three things, the last 3 weeks, and put it to use for the next 3 weeks.
Correct. And you're already seeing these big tech AI systems like ChatGPT adding all sorts of personalization and memory. And on the pro tier, they've got the ChatGPT Pulse, which takes all your chats and gives you some really cool stuff to look at, etc. And so I think whoever owns this memory, that's the moat. That's where the lock-in is going to be. And big tech wants to own it, so you're locked into their system. And with BrainDrive, we want you to own it, so you're locked into your own AI system and you own and control that. We like to think about this kind of like a digital brain, and just like you wouldn't want OpenAI to own your physical brain, we don't, at least us, we don't want them to own our digital brain either. We want ownership and control over that. And we think that's what ultimately will lead to a much better, more prosperous world for the individual, where we avoid this case where everyone's locked into one of these big tech AI systems and relying on them and they're capturing all the value. We've seen that game play out already with social media, and I don't think anybody wants that with the even more powerful AI. So that's
Well,
really the importance of this.
and if you want to see it in action, Pulse, you brought it up. If you want to see how your information is being leveraged, and they've turned your conversations into a product right there, because it's like I love it. In fact, Dave and I have already talked on the sidelines. I've already thought of a brain drive equivalent for it so that you have it, because it's like it, it it pops up every morning and it says, "Hey, you've been talking about X." And like in my case, I have been having numerous conversations dealing with MCP, coming at it from different aspects, different ways to look at it, and how to twist it and turn it around. And right now, every morning, I am getting three different chats of looking at MCP from a different aspect. And it's coming with things that I didn't even think about. So now let's compound that into what OpenAI is really doing, is because they're using all this information to formulate the next product that you can't resist based on all this, because they're talking, because they'll come up with a list of, okay, we have X amount of people talking about this kind of stuff. If we offered this, that's another 19.99 a month.
Right.
And that's their view right there. So this is our way of saying, you know what, we can keep it, we can do what we want with it, and you're just waiting for a plugin developer or yourself to build whatever you desire and utilize your knowledge the way you want to.
And because this is a knowledge economy, the value is going to accrue to the people that own and control the
Yep.
knowledge. And so we want the BrainDrive owner, you, the user of BrainDrive, to own and control your data. And that's why we've built this whole thing. So, I think there's a lot of steps that we have to work to in order to get to this point, and we're going to have to walk before we crawl. But ultimately, if we're going to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems, then we have to have a memory system that is under the ownership and control over that user of BrainDrive. We call them BrainDrive owners.
Hmm.
And that BrainDrive that they can leverage to
Yep.
be more useful in their life than a chat GPT. Because that's what people want is whatever the most useful system is a system that they're going to use. So, and ultimately, I think the vision for everyone with these AI systems in terms of personalization is it knows everything about you, and therefore, when Dave asks for advice on something, it tailors that advice exactly to his memory that's in his.
Yep.
And when I ask for advice on the same topic, I'm going to get a different answer because we have different lives. Just
Yep.
like, if we were talking to an expert that knew both of us deeply, that expert is not going to give the exact same answer to both of our questions. So, that's the importance of this. And I think what we're thinking of right now is the first step towards that, fully immersive where you don't even have to think about it
Yeah.
and the AI is just, serving you basically in a very personalized way because it has access to all of your data and chats and et cetera, is just the ability to being able to upload a document or a set of documents, have that embedded in a database where you can talk to that data. And this is the first case because it's relatively straightforward. It already works. A lot of this other stuff is still experimental, even in the big tech AI world. And it can be very useful. So if I have my BrainDrive documents, and we can have a collection of documents that we've uploaded to BrainDrive, and we can ask questions and get very high quality answers from those documents. If I can say, hey, we're about to launch, can you write a welcome email? And
Yep.
it uses that information. That's very useful. It's also a use case that we know is proven because ChatGPT, Claude, all the major AI systems, Gemini, have this concept of projects where you can go in and ground a chat in a set of documents. So, I think my perspective is this is the first step towards that larger vision where we can really provide a lot of value to people and it won't be all that complicated. Is that
To to me, not to cut you up, but this is where we could outbeat, and we do outbeat everybody. If you look, and I'm going to go 6 months in the future, in the fact of you, I know Gemini, I know Claude, and I know OpenAI. They're going to do the same thing they're doing right now. They're going to just sit there and expand on their functionality and capabilities, but they're not going to really offer anybody anything. What BrainDrive can do differently in the aspect of not only can you have your own knowledge base now, because as we're building RAG, you can build your own persona that goes with that knowledge base, but you can do one step further and you can build an actual plugin page that caters directly to that page. And at that point, we will also be to the point where you can take all three of these and create one, I'll call it a ball. And the reason I call it a ball is because you would be able to hand this ball to somebody else and be it free for have an economy based on it, rent, it just however you want to figure that little ball out, you can hand it to somebody and say, hey, I'm going to offer you the experience, the knowledge, and the actual personality that interacts best with it. It's already
and
been fine tuned.
and this is like going to work for someone now. That's what they get. The ball that
Yep.
Dave is referring to is you and your experience and your knowledge, and they pay you for that, right?
Yep.
And so in a digitized world, you should be able to do that same thing and it should be much more scalable because you can, that ball, you don't have to be there for the person to use it, etc. So people may not be willing to pay as much for that ball as they are for you to come there personally,
Yep.
but it can be done in a much more scalable way,
And you could be asleep while they're leveraging it. That's the key. It's
correct.
like you don't have to be there at work 8 hours a week in one location. You can now be in 1,000 locations, 24/7, leveraging your knowledge constantly.
And then these things, these balls or blocks, knowledge
Yep.
blocks,
Yeah.
right, are composable, right?
Yep.
So, you may work with someone else that has a specific type of knowledge combined into a new, bigger ball of
Yeah.
knowledge. Um, and uh, and that's really, our vision of the knowledge economy is built off of what Dave just talked about. And in terms of, a big advantage that a user-owned AI system like BrainDrive has over the big tech SaaS systems is they have to offer a very similar interface to everyone where ours can be completely customizable and you're free to do whatever you want with it because it's yours. I said ours, but it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
your brain drive. You can do whatever you want with it and customize it however you please, not just because it's MIT licensed and that means you're free to do, but because Dave has constructed the system in a way where it makes that really possible with the plug-in based architecture to do that.
That's why it took a long time for us to crawl before we could walk. But it was like there was a goal in mind, and it was right where that ball comes into existence. And it's like all of a sudden people will go, "Oh, that's what they're doing."
You're right.
Because right now, it's like even like because when we started this back almost last Christmas, it was like a day we were both talking about, hey, let's kind of look into what AI can do for a company. And so for me as a developer, I was like, okay, let's see what the development tools are. And in 4 days, I basically created an interface and it was like, hey, we could actually do one of these. It'll be piece of cake, but let's not copy everybody.
Right.
This is an opportunity to say we're both professionals. We can come up with something better. And that's when that ball came into existence of knowledge bases and being able to leverage them and being able to command the interface that you know your users need. And then say, hey, Katie, Aaron, whoever you are, you have this is yours. You can leverage it any way you want. You can share it. You can sell it. You can rent it. That's yours to move with.
And I think so. The most important thing, I think, in terms of that long-term vision of having this be a completely personalized system, but that also is a Lego type system where
Yep.
you can include other people's Legos in it and stuff. Because yes, there may be some people that only want to use their data and never want to connect to the internet and never, and that's fine. And you can do that with BrainDrive. But like if you think about it like your day-to-day life, you have a lot of knowledge that's specific to you and memories that are specific to you, but you're also constantly leveraging other people's intelligence and experiences and knowledge to better yourself or build a business or learn something, etc. And so, we think that analogy is going to carry over into the digital world as well.
Well, just every website, you're leveraging somebody else's knowledge just by going to read. So the
Right.
existence of this idea, it's there. What
Yeah.
we're going to do is say, hey, rather than read it and take a day of looking through every page on that website, here it is as a knowledge base. And why don't you just ask the question you want to know
Right.
and be done with that in 5 minutes?
Right. And so I think this ball concept that you're talking about is going to be possible with the chat with documents because once we have the documents system working like we want it to work, we already have the persona and the page builder
Yep.
capability that you can add that in. So that's a great start,
Yep.
right? But I think we also want to be working towards this larger vision of, you know, the person, I think there's going to be the brain drive builders and entrepreneurs that want to do the blocks and
Yep.
understand everything, but like the brain drive owner and the person who just wants to own their personal AI system and make it as useful as possible, we want the system to be proactively building all of this in the future, right?
Yep.
And so we don't want to complicate things right now when we feel like we can build something very useful with the chat with documents.
Hmm.
But I just want to also make sure that we're not preventing ourselves from moving down the
Yep.
path towards that larger vision. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we're already really heading there because I don't can't see. That's why I want to also take a look at the rag myself, as we talked about earlier, in the fact of because I know, like I've already articulated in my head, we have certain things that we want to happen. So in order to do that, I have to make sure that can our rag setup currently grow to what we wanted to do? Are we certain? Are we seeing some? Because hey, at the end of the day, we already have two of the three, as you said. We can build a plugin. You can build a persona. I have demonstrated on both regards that I can extract a page, extract a persona, and then give it to somebody and they can install it. So we've already met all of that. With Avatar, I have demonstrated that I can take an entire vector database, I can pull it, I can get all the model information, the details, and then reuse it. So then now it's like combining that practice into our RAG system. Because once we do that, then it's a matter of how do we package this? It's so that when Katie comes along, because you're right, Katie doesn't want to play with Legos at all. Katie doesn't want to have anything
This
to
is
do with
our
a
just
Lego.
brain drive
Yeah.
owner, not interested in
Yep.
building an entrepreneurship.
Katie wants to install easily within an interface and it runs. She was like the game, being a BrainDrive craft. You want install it. The page is set up for you. The only thing you need to do is install, and now I can play. Thank you. Katie wants to do that with everything. She downloads information on how to start a business because she wants to start a business. And so there's somebody put together a knowledge base of dealing with SBA, how to look for grants, how to how to incorporate. What's better, an LLC or a S corp? Those kind of things where you can just ask questions to a knowledge base, and she will say purchased it for $5. She downloaded it, installed it right there. Now the page pops up, and Katie has boom pops up. Here's your business advisor. She pops in her question: do I want to be an S corp or an LLC? And it should be able to put her through the steps. Okay, answer these questions about the business
And
you're thinking.
eventually it should be able to leverage the other knowledge that the system, the
Yep.
brain drive has to tailor those answers to her specifically.
You probably could get away with it now if we just have to figure out how like the RAG works and stuff like that. But if your plugin interface had the ability to look at what's available, give you a drop down or say, hey, you have a small business advisor. You also have an essential oils advisor. You could have knee therapy. You could be doing physical therapy and stuff like that. So, because some don't match, but some do. So, let's say you were thinking about doing an online store at Spotify and you had a knowledge base for that. Being able to say, hey, I want my small business advisor to also look at my knowledge dealing with Spotify because I want to build a website over there and sell something. I don't know what yet, but be able to pull both them. And so that when it goes out and says, hey, I'm not just going to look at one knowledge base, I'm going to look at two. And maybe that Spotify says, hey, Spotify is like, we recommend people forming an LLC.
Shopify.
Or Shopify, there you go. I got so many different names in my head right now. But yeah, Shopify will say, hey, forming an LLC is better. Most of our clients do it, and it works really well for what you're attempting to do. And then the knowledge base for your small business advisor says, by the way, here's how you do that.
Right,
So they're combining forces to give you the best answer for what you want to accomplish in that regard.
right. Okay, and right now, ChromaDB as a vector database
Yep.
and doing the embeddings in there for this document RAG system is a step in that direction. In a worst case scenario, even where we decided we want to move away from ChromaDB, we could because you own and control
Yep.
everything, right?
Yep.
Meaning the brain drive owner, whoever has downloaded BrainDrive and is running it and self-hosting it has complete control over the system. Everything's open source, including the database, the embedding models that we recommend, everything. So that all can be,
To be a
but
migration script.
it could also be, in the future, this is probably, a multi-source system, right? Where it's pulling in context from multiple places, one of which
Yep.
may be the ChromaDB, another place may be the internet, another place may be a knowledge graph, there
Yep.
could be many different places where this is pulling in
You can have just a bunch
information.
of a JSON pull a bunch of data that you just hand it and say, "Hey, also look in here while you're doing this research as well."
Right, right. And I think we're both on the same page that we can live a long time in this rag
Yeah.
focus. And we can live a long time here because there's lots of things to set up and optimize to make this better for people. And also, as we do that, I think we're confident that people are going to be really excited about it because this is one of the things that people talk about the most of wanting to do with a local AI system or just AI systems in general is really personalize it to their specific use case.
I've seen products die on this because it was like chat with RPG. It was like GPT for R or for something like that. But they were one of the first people that said, "Here's a product that has RAG on it, but it was local." And in their defense, none of the tech was ready for it. They were way ahead of their time, so it really didn't work well. But they were one of the first. And you offered this, everybody went for it, and of course, to be blunt, it sucked. It was like so difficult to it's like tech at that time was like, especially AI was really difficult to get working. You had to have basically a master's degree in machine learning and things like that just to get the basics to work.
Right.
So it's like I said, they were just a way ahead of their time. And so nowadays it's like it's like they're expecting it because they see OpenAI, they see Claude now. But with a nice interface, everybody can do it. It's just a matter of, hey, you need that nice interface, you need to put together. And in our view, you need to be able to own it. And that means be able to keep it to yourself, share it, combine it, whatever you envision, and builders and entrepreneurs be able to leverage it all and offer different things to people that we didn't even imagine when we put this together.
Awesome. I think that's a great overview of where we hope to head with this. Like we said earlier in the call, we're starting with this chat with documents, but that's the long-term vision that we're building towards. Anything else you want to add on that, Dave, before we sign off, or anything
Nope.
else?
Nope. I am good. I have talked my brain out right now.
All right, awesome. So, like we said at the beginning of the call, we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live streamed on YouTube. They're posted to our community forums over at community.braindrive.ai in the afternoon, so you can participate in either. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, ideas, etc. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.